Welcome. Come a little closer. I'm Evangeline Moss, and tonight the cypress trees are still, and the candlelight is low. Out here, the air is thick with stories, the kind that drift through the moss and settle softly around you. So, rest your eyes, listen closely, and let the swamp tell you a story. I did not come to Florida to be afraid. I came for the sun, for the kind of light that bleaches the past out of you, turns everything soft and golden and forgettable. I came for the slow mornings, the quiet evenings, the promise that nothing new would ever happen. That's what the villages advertised anyways. A place where lawns are always trimmed, the houses wear pastels like uniform, and the people, God, the people, never seem to age the way the rest of us do. I noticed that last part before anything else. Before the colors. Before the invitations. Before I understood what the luffas meant. My house sat on a corner lot. Pale peach with white shutters. Identical to the one across the street, except for little details people used to pretend they were still individuals. A wind chime here, a flamingo there, a flag that changed with the seasons, and the luffas. At first I thought they were decorations. A green one hanging from Mrs. Dingley's porch 2 houses down, a soft blue one across the street, a yellow on the corner, pink near the mailboxes. They swayed in the breeze like sea creatures pulled from the ocean and left to dry in the sun. It was charming. That's the word I used when I called my sister the first week. Charming, I said, like living in a postcard. She laughed, told me to give it a month, said that she's heard the jokes about the luffas. I should have listened. The first time someone mentioned the colors, it was casual. Too casual. We were gathered near the community pool, one of many, and the air smelt like chlorine and coconut sunscreen. A man named Richard, silver hair, 2 straight of teeth, nodded towards the porch across the way. You'll learn what they mean soon enough, he said. I followed his gaze. A deep red luffa hung there, darker than any other color I'd seen. Not bright, not cheerful. It looked wet. Mean? I asked. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Oh, just our little system, he said. Helps people find what they're looking for. What kind of system? But he had already turned away. I tried not to think about it after that. Florida has a way of making you lazy. The heat presses down on your thoughts until they slow, soften, and blur at the edges. Days slip into one another, Times become something you wade through instead of measure. But I kept noticing the colors. Greenhouses hosted gardening groups. Blue meant pool parties. Yellow, something to do with cards or book clubs, I think. It made sense on the surface. That was the problem. Everything made sense. Just enough that you stopped asking questions. The invitation came 2 weeks later. Hand delivered. No envelope. Just a thick piece of cream color paper slipped beneath my door. You are warmly invited, Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. No name. No RSVP. Just an address I recognized immediately. The house with the red loofah. I almost didn't go. I wish I hadn't. But loneliness is a powerful thing. It creeps in quiet, sits beside you in the evenings, whispers that maybe, just maybe, you should say yes, even when something feels wrong, especially then. The sun was just beginning to set when I arrived. The sky stretched out in bruised shades of purple and orange, the kind of sunset people move there for. The house looked different in that light. Less pastel, more flesh tone. The red loofah swayed gently on the porch. Up close, I could see it wasn't just red. It was layered. Dark at the center, almost black in places. The door opened up before I knocked. "Welcome," she said. The same woman I'd seen at the pool. Wide smile, perfect teeth, eyes that lingered just a second too long. "You made it." I wasn't sure Oh, but you are here, she said softly, interrupting and stepping aside. "And that's what matters." The house smelt like rich something. Not food exactly. Something metallic underneath the sweetness. The lighting was low. Candlelight mostly flickered against the walls, lined with frames of photographs. There were people already gathered inside. All of them dressed too well for something that wasn't supposed to be formal. All of them watching me. Just for a second. Then smiling, then looking away. "You'll get used to it," the woman said, guiding me further inside. "To what?" I asked. "The attention." Dinner was already laid out. Long table, white cloth, polished silverware that caught the candlelight and threw it back in sharp glints. I took a seat where she directed me, between a man who smelled faintly of cologne and iron and a woman whose skin looked wrong. Too smooth. Not tight with age, just unchanged by it. Like time has passed her completely by. I tried to make conversation. I really did. But every question slid off of them like water. Where are you from? How long have you lived here? What do the colors mean? That last one always earned me the same response. A smile, a pause, a change of subject. It wasn't till dessert that I realized something else was wrong. No one was eating. Not really. They moved food around their plates, lifted forks, took small, performative bites. But no one finished anything. No one seemed hungry. Except I excused myself. I said I needed the restroom, and no one stopped me. But I feel their eyes follow me as I left the table. The hallway was darker than the dining room. Quieter, too. The kind of quiet that presses against your ears. The photographs lining the walls at first glance were normal. Community events, poolside gatherings, holiday parties. But the longer I looked, the stranger they became. The same faces, over and over. And the pictures, dated decades apart, unchanged. 1978, 1979, 1980, 1981. The same people, the same smiles, the same eyes. I don't remember deciding to open the door at the end of the hall. I just remember my hand on the knob, turning it, and the room inside was colder. The air thick, heavy. There were jars on the shelves, dozens of them, filled with something dark and viscous. The smell hit me then. That metallic sweetness from earlier. Stronger now. Undeniable. And the mirror. God, the mirror. Tall, ornate. Framed in something that looked like blackened wood or bone. I stepped closer. I don't know why. I wish I didn't. My reflection lagged, just slightly, like it wasn't quite keeping up with me. And behind me, movement, shapes. Not fully there, but watching, waiting. Curiosity, a voice said behind me, has always been the most dangerous trait. I turned. They were standing in the doorway, 3 of them, blocking the exit, smiling, but not kindly. "You weren't supposed to see these yet," the woman said. Her voice had changed, lost its warmth, gained something sharper. Hunger. "What is this place?" I asked. My voice sounded small, thin. "Just a community," she said, "like any other." "No," I said. "No, it's not." The man beside her stepped forward. His eyes caught the light, and for just a second, they weren't human. "The colors help us organize," he said. "Organize what?" He smiled. Slow, deliberate. "Our appetites." The word didn't land all at once. It settled slowly, like humidity in the lungs, thick, suffocating, impossible to ignore once it was there. I laughed. I don't know why. Maybe because some part of me still believed this was a joke, a strange, elaborate initiation. The kind of things retirees with too much time and money might come up with to keep life interesting. "You're kidding," I said. No one else laughed. The man stepped closer. I hadn't noticed before how quietly they moved. Not just soft, absent, like their footsteps didn't belong in the same world as the rest of us. "You've been observant," he said. "That's good. It makes this easier." "Easier for what?" "For you," the woman replied. Something in her tone made my stomach turn. "I'm leaving," I said. Simple, direct, normal. The kind of thing you say when a situation stops making sense. I moved towards the doorway. They did not stop me. That should have been my first real warning. I made 3 steps into the hallway before I realized it wasn't the same hallway. The photographs were gone. The walls were bare. And the air felt wrong. Thicker. Closer. Like the house itself had taken a breath and forgot to let it out. I turned back. The room with the mirror was gone too. Just a wall. Smooth. Unbroken. Architecture can be flexible. The man's voice came from behind me. I spun around, and they were closer now. Too close. "You're not understanding," I said, backing away. This isn't funny anymore." "We're not trying to be funny," the woman said gently. Her hand reached out, not touching me, just hovering near my arm, like she already knew I couldn't get away. "You felt it, didn't you?" she continued. "From the moment you arrived." I opened my mouth to deny it. I didn't, because she was right. The stillness, The sameness. The way everyone watched without looking. The way no one ever seemed tired or hungry or finished with anything. "What are you?" I asked. My voice came out quieter this time. Not demanding, not brave, just tired. The man smiled again, but there was something almost sympathetic in it now. "Neighbors," he said. I ran. This time, they didn't try to stop me. I felt it. Something shifted in the air behind me, like the pressure dropping before a storm. A hand brushed my shoulders, too cold to be human. But the panic is faster than reason. And fear makes you strong in ways no one else can. I hit the front door hard enough that it slammed open against the wall, and the night air rushed in. Warm, real, mine. I didn't look back, not at first. I just ran. Down the steps, across the lawn, past the little decorative stones and trimmed hedges and pastel perfections. Everything looked the same. Too the same. The streetlights flickered as I passed beneath them, not at once, but one by one, like something was following me, keeping pace. I reached the sidewalk and nearly slipped. My shoe caught on something soft. I looked down. A loofah. Red. Darker than the one on the porch. And wet. I stumbled back. And that's when I heard it. Not footsteps. Not voices. Something quieter. Movement all around me. Porch lights clicking on, one house at a time. The soft yellow glow spilling into the street. Curtains shifting. Doors opening just enough to suggest someone standing behind them. Watching. The neighborhood wasn't asleep. It had been waiting. I turned in a circle. Every house. Every single one had a loofah. And in the dim light, I could see them clearly now. Not just colors, patterns. Green, blue, yellow, and here and there, red. They weren't random. They formed something. A path. "No," I whispered. "You see it now?" The woman's voice drifted from somewhere behind me. Closer than it should have been. I ran again. But it didn't matter in which direction I chose. Every street curved back into another that looked just like it. Every house wore a different color. Every porch held someone who wasn't quite stepping outside. I passed the pool, or what I thought was the pool, except the water was still, too still, like glass, and the people standing around it, they didn't move at all. Not until I slowed down. Then their heads turned, all at once. I choked on a breath and kept running. My chest burned now. My legs ached. But something deeper was setting in. Something colder. Understanding. This wasn't a neighborhood. It was a system. The colors weren't decorations. They were signals, instruction, permission. Greenhouses equaled safe, social, open. Yellow are the watchers, the ones who invited, observed. Blue, I thought of the pool, of still water, of unmoving bodies waiting for motion, feeding nights. And red, I turned another corner and nearly collided with something. Hands caught my shoulders, firm, unyielding, careful, said a voice. Richard, from the pool. Up close, I could see it now. What I have missed before. His skin wasn't just smooth. It was preserved. Like something held it in place long after it should have been changed. You're making this harder than it needs to be, he said. Get off me, I snapped, shoving him back. He didn't move, not even an inch. You were invited, he continued calmly. This means you were chosen. For what? I demanded, even though I already knew. He tilted his head slightly, studying me, like I was something on a plate he hadn't decided how to eat yet. There are 2 ways to stay here, he said, and most don't get a choice. My stomach dropped. But you, he added, almost kindly. You're different. Behind him, more people were stepping out onto their porches. Slowly, deliberately. Yellow, blue, green, and in the distance, red. They've been watching you, Richard said, learning you, your habits, your routines. That's insane, I said, but my voice was shaking now. because I thought of those walks, the grocery trips, the way I had started recognizing the same faces everywhere I went. "You came here to disappear," he said softly. "No family nearby, few connections, minimal disruptions." My breath caught. "You made yourself ideal." "I'm not staying," I said. "I'm leaving tonight." Something flickered across his face then. Not anger, not amusement, but pity. "No one lives here," he said. And for the first time since I arrived in the villages, I believe someone was telling me the truth. Behind him, the porch lights brightened. The neighborhood came alive, not with sound, but with presence. Watching, waiting, choosing. Richard stepped aside, just slightly. "Run again," he said. "See where it takes you." I hesitated. Just for a second. And that was enough to understand the worst part of it all. He wasn't blocking me anymore. Because he didn't need to. The streets weren't meant to let me out. They were meant to guide me somewhere else. Somewhere already waiting. And somewhere in the distance, I saw it. A house. Larger than the others. Darker. And hanging from its porch, not one loofah, but many. All of them red. I don't remember deciding to walk towards the house. That's the unsettling part for me even now. Not the running, not the fear. Not the way the neighborhood seemed to breathe around me like something was alive. No. It was the fact of how calm I walked towards that house. Because the moment I saw it, the house with all the red loofahs, something inside me stilled. Like a compass, finally pointing north. Behind me, I could feel them. Not chasing, not rushing, just following. At a distance, certain. The house sat at the end of a curved street that I didn't remember taking. Bigger than the others. Older, somehow. Though that shouldn't have been possible in a place like this. The paint was a deeper shade than the rest. Not quite pastel anymore. Something closer to dry clay. Or blood. And the loofahs. God, there must have been a dozen. Hanging from the porch railings. From the rafters. From hooks driven into places hooks shouldn't be. all of them red, all of them swaying, though there was no wind. I stopped at the edge of the walkway. "I'm not going in there," I said. My voice sounded small again, like it belonged to someone else. "You already are," a voice said. And this time it did not come from behind me. It came from inside the house. The front door cracked open, slow, deliberate, inviting. And the light inside, they weren't warm like the others. They were dim, flickering, like something was struggling to keep them alive. "Come," said the voice. I should have run. Again, I should have fought harder, screamed louder, thrown myself into the street and refused to move another inch. But fear had changed shape. It wasn't sharp anymore. It was heavy, settling into my bones, making everything feel inevitable. So I stepped forward. The porch groaned beneath my weight, or maybe beneath something else, something shifting just out of sight. Up close, the luffas looked worse. Their texture wasn't dry and fibrous like they should have been. They looked saturated, dark at the core, as if they had absorbed something over time, something they were never meant to hold. I reached the door. It opened wider before I could touch it. Inside, the smell hit me first. Not just metallic now. Not just sweet. Rot. Subtle. Carefully hidden beneath something floral. But there. Persistent. The room was beyond large. Far larger than a house should have allowed. The walls stretched upward into the shadows. The ceiling lost somewhere in the darkness. And along those walls, more photographs. But these were different. Much older. Black and white. Sepia. Faded edges curling inward, like they were trying to forget what they had seen. I stepped closer to one. A group of people standing in front of a wooden structure. Not the pastel homes of the village. Something earlier. Cruder. The date read 1923. I swallowed. The faces. I knew them. Not younger. Not older. The same. Time, the voice said again, is a matter of management. I turned. He stood at the far end of the room. I hadn't seen him before. I would have remembered. tall, thin, dressed in something that might have once been formal, but now looked worn in a way that didn't belong to any specific decade. His hair was dark, but not naturally. It had that too even quality of something preserved past its time. And his eyes were wrong. Not in the way the others were. Not subtle. Not almost human. These were something else entirely. "Who are you?" I asked. He smiled. Not wide. Not performative. Just knowing. "I am what remains," he said. "That doesn't answer my question." "No," he agreed. "But it answers the one you should be asking." I didn't respond because I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. He gestured to the photographs. "We have been here a very long time," he said. "Long before this place became what it is now." "The villages?" I asked. He almost laughed. "Name changes," he said. "Structures evolve. People come and go." A pause. "We do not." My throat tightened. "You're not vampires," I said. It came out more like a plea than a statement. He tilted his head, considering. "That word is imprecise," he said. "Then what are you?" He took a step closer, and the air seemed to shift with him, like the room itself was adjusting. "We are sustained," he said, "by what others waste." I frowned. "I don't understand." "No," he said softly. "Not yet." He gestured again, this time not to the photographs, but to the center of the room. I hadn't noticed it before. A table. Long, dark, and set upon it, jars. Dozens of them. Just like the ones I'd seen earlier. Only here, they were arranged carefully, deliberately, sorted by color: green, yellow, blue, and red. My stomach dropped. "The system," he said, watching my reaction, "is not for decoration." "I know that," I whispered. "Do you?" he asked gently. He picked up one of the jars. Green. He held it to the light. "This," he said, "is abundance." Another, yellow. "This is attention." Blue. "This is indulgence." And then red. He didn't lift it. He just rested his hand gently against it. "This," he said quietly, "is necessity." I shook my head. No," I said. "No, I don't understand what this means." "You will," he said. And then he nodded towards me, and everything in the room changed. The walls seemed to breathe. The shadows deepened. The air thickened until it was hard to pull into my lungs. And the people, they stepped forward. I hadn't seen them enter, but they were there now, lining the walls, silent, watching, waiting. "You were observed," the man said. "Evaluated," someone else added. "Measured," another voice whispered. I backed away. "No," I said. "No, I didn't agree to this." "Agreement is a luxury," the man said. "Continuation is not." My back hit the table. The jars rattled softly beneath me. "You have something we require," he continued. "What?" I demanded. He studied me, long and carefully. "Time," he said. My breath caught. "Everyone has time," I said. "Not like you," he replied. A pause. And then, "Yours is unspent." The words sank in slowly. All the quiet, all the isolation, all the empty days stretching endlessly ahead of me when I first arrived. "You came here to wait," he said, "to let your life settle into something smaller." I didn't respond, because he wasn't wrong. "And that," he said softly, "makes you ideal." The room seemed to close in. "What happens now?" I asked. And for the first time, he smiled. A real smile. "Now," he said, "you are given a choice." The people behind him shifted. Not closer. Not yet. But ready. "You may join us," he said. "Be sustained. Be preserved. Be part of what we have built here." My heart pounded. "And if I don't?" I asked. The smile didn't change or fade. "It changes nothing," he said. The silence stretched between us. Heavy, unavoidable. "You said most people don't get a choice," I said. "That is correct." "Why me?" Another pause. And then, "Because," he said quietly, You saw too much. Something cold slid down my spine. And because, he added, we prefer willing participants. Behind me, I felt it. The table, the jars, the red ones, waiting. And in that moment, I understood something worse than fear. Something deeper. This wasn't a hunt. It was a harvest. And I had been ripening since the moment I arrived. I wish I could tell you I refused, that I stood there, heart pounding, lungs burning, and chose something noble. Freedom, resistance, escape. But that wouldn't be the truth. Because the longer I stood in the room, the quieter everything became. Not just around me, but inside me. The panic didn't vanish. It softened, like a storm rolling out to sea. You're tired, the man said gently. I laughed, a weak, hollow sound. Of course I'm tired, I said. You've been chasing me through a nightmare. He shook his head. No, he said. You were tired long before you got here. Something in my chest tightened. You came to this place to disappear, he continued. To become smaller, quieter, easy to carry. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell him he was wrong. But all I could think about were the mornings that stretched too long, the afternoons that meant nothing, the evenings that folded in on themselves, one after another, until time stopped feeling like something I lived through. It started feeling like something I was waiting out. I didn't come here for this, I said. No one ever does, he replied. Silence settled over the room again. Heavy, but not suffocating anymore. Just present. What happens, I ask slowly, if I say yes? A shift. Subtle, but immediate. The people lining the walls straightened, not moving forward. Not yet, but listening. You remain, he says. That's it? He smiled faintly. Nothing is ever just one thing. He stepped closer. Close enough now that I could see the fine details on his face. The way it was held together too well. The absence of strain, of decay, of time. You are preserved, he continued. Not as you were, not as you would become. A pause. As you are now. I swallowed. And the others? I asked. The ones who don't choose? This time, he didn't soften the answer. They are not wasted. My gaze drifted slowly, unwillingly, to the table behind me, to the jars. Red. Something in me recoiled. But something else didn't. And you need that? I asked. We sustain one another, he said. That's not what I meant. He studied me for a long moment. No, he said finally, but it is the truth. I turned away from him, from the room, from the watching faces. And for a moment, just a moment, I imagined leaving, getting back into my car, and driving until the roads finally stopped repeating, finding somewhere else, anywhere else. But the image didn't hold. It slipped, blurred at the edges, because even in that imagined escape, I was alone, still alone, still waiting, still unspent. You would forget this place eventually, he said quietly, as if reading the thought as if it had faded. Or convince yourself it wasn't real. I closed my eyes. And then what? I whispered. You would continue, he said. The word hung there. Continue. Days. Weeks. Years. Waiting for something to change. Waiting for something to end. I opened my eyes slowly. The room felt different now. Not smaller, not larger, just clearer. The people along the walls were watching me and waiting for me to understand. And the worst part was, I did. You don't force anyone, I said. Not at the end, he replied. That's why the neighborhood is the way it is, I continued. The routines, the sameness, the quiet. He did not interrupt. You let people become this, I said softly. You let them fade first. A pause. People come here ready, he said. I let out a slow breath. And for the first time since this began, I wasn't afraid of them. I was afraid of how much sense they made. How long? I asked. How long what? How long before I stop feeling like this? He considered the question. You won't, he said. Something inside me flinched. You'll remember it, he continued. The difference is, it won't weigh on you anymore. I thought about that. About remembering the emptiness without feeling it. About existing without the slow erosion of time. About being still. My gaze drifted again to the jars, to the colors. Green, yellow, blue, red. A system, a balance, a way to remain. You said I have a choice, I said. You do. I nodded slowly, and then I turned, not towards the door, not towards the street, but towards the table, my hand hovering over the jars. And I hesitated, just for a second. Then I picked up one. Not red. Not yet. Yellow. Attention. Observation. Becoming. A beginning. The man watched me carefully. Not everyone starts there, he said. I'm not everyone, I replied. The words came easier than they should have. And that's when I realized something had already changed. Behind me, the room shifted. Not physically, but in feeling. The tensions eased. The hunger quieted. The waiting ended. Then welcome, he said softly. The other stepped forward, not closing in, closing around. And for the first time since I arrived in the villages, I didn't feel like I was being watched. I felt like I belonged. I still live here. That's the part you're supposed to find unsettling, and maybe you should. But I don't. Not anymore. The days aren't heavy here. They don't stretch or sag or disappear into one another. They simply are. And the people? They're kind. In their way. Patient. We watch. We wait. And sometimes we invite. You'd be surprised how many people say yes without realizing it. It starts small. A conversation, a glance, A sense that someone sees you more clearly than anyone has in a long time. And then an invitation. You might even receive one someday. Cream color paper, no envelope, no name, just a time, a place. And if you come, if you step inside and feel that quiet settle into your bones, if you find yourself standing in a room where time no longer presses quite so hard, you'll understand. We don't chase. We don't need to. Because the truth is, most people don't want to escape. Not really. They just want the waiting to stop. And here, it does. If you ever find yourself in a neighborhood where the colors seem a little too deliberate, where the people seem a little too unchanged, where the days feel a little too still, pay attention, especially to the porches, especially to the ones with luffas. And if you see yellow, you should know someone has already noticed you. The candle is burning low now, and the swamp has grown quiet. If you're still awake, there's always another story waiting for you here. Sleep well, and I'll be right here.